Hi viewers, welcome back to Afri Fashion TV. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to draft a princess dart. So if that is something you're interested in, continue watching. Now the first thing you want to do, if you have your pattern paper like this, you actually want to fold it into two. Okay. Next, I'm actually going to come down from this top by about 1 inch. You may want to do up to 2 inches, but I usually prefer 1 inch. So I'm going to just eyeball it and draw a straight line at the top like this. Alright, so this straight line is going to serve as my shoulder line. From this center fold, I'm actually going to take my shoulder measurement. I'm working with a shoulder measurement of 15 inches. So if I divide that by 2, I'm going to have 7.5 inches. So placing my tape at the center fold, I'm going to measure 7.5 inches. So I'm going to mark that. Next, I'm actually going to take the width of my neck. I'm working with a neck width of about 3 inches. So still placing my tape at the center fold, I'm going to measure that 3 inches. Then I want the neck depth to actually be 2.5 inches. So placing the tape at the shoulder line, I'm going to measure the 2.5 inches. Next, I'm going to use my curver to actually connect the marks together. So from the shoulder line, I'm going to take my burst measurement. I'm working with a burst length of about 9.5 inches. So I'm just going to mark that. 9.5. Then the underburst I'm working with is 13 inches. I'm also going to mark that. Then the waist length I'm working with is 15.5 inches. I'm going to mark that, and then 1/2 inch for seam allowance. I'm also going to mark that. Then to ensure that I'm going to have a straight line when I root across this mark, I'm going to come down to mark the same measurements. Now this is not necessary, but I'm doing this because I want to ensure that I'm going to have a straight line at the end of the day. Okay, so 9.5 for the burst length, 13 inches for the underburst length, and then 15.5 inches for the waist length and my 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay, so now I'm going to connect all the marks together. So from this shoulder measurement, I'm actually going to come down by 1 inch to take my shoulder slope. So I'm going to mark that like this. And next, I'm going to connect that mark to the neck width. Like so. So this is a shoulder slope. Next, I'm actually going to get the armhole length. And to do that, you want to divide the burst circumference you're working with by 6 plus 1.5 inches. Now I'm working with a burst circumference of about 38 inches. If I divide that by 6 plus 1.5 inches, I'm going to have about 7.8 inches, which I can approximate to 8 inches. So placing the tape here, I'm going to measure 8 inches. So just mark that. To also ensure that I'm going to have a straight line, you want to impute the shoulder measurement of 7.5 inches at this point as well. So I'm just going to mark. That's 7.5 inches at this point. Okay. Now I'm going to connect this mark to the shoulder slope. Then I'm going to do a horizontal line to its right. Okay, so this line is going to be the chest line. Let me label all the lines. This is a bust point. This is an under bust line. This is a waist line, and this is the allowance line. All right. So going back to this armhole length, I'm actually going to get the midpoint. So we have a measurement of 8 inches here. The midpoint is definitely 4 inches. Now at that midpoint, I'm going to come in by half an inch. So I'll just mark that half an inch. And then at this chest line, I'm going to impute quarter of my burst circumference. Since I'm working with a burst circumference of 38 inches, if I divide that by 4, I'm going to have 9.5 inches. So I'll just mark that here. Now I'm going to use my curve rule to connect this point to this point and then to this point. Okay. Now going to the bust point, I'm going to impute my burst span, half of my burst span, or the nipple to nipple measurement, half of it. So I'm working with a burst span of about 8 inches. If I divide that by 2, I'm going to have 4 inches. So placing the tape at the center fold, I'm going to measure 4 inches. So I'll mark that here at the burst line or point. I'm also going to mark that at the underbust line. Inches and at the waistline as well. So basically, I'm just going to connect all the points together and extend it to the allowance line. All right. Next, I'm actually going to take the length of this armhole curve. So I'm going to place my tape like this and measure the length like so. So you want to curve your tape according to the curve. So I basically have about 9.2 inches. Now if I divide that 9.2 inches, I'm going to have 4.6 inches. So starting from this beginning, I'm going to mark that 4.6 inches, which is here. All right. Then I'm going to connect this mark to this point here. I'm going to use my curve rule to do that. You can actually use a freehand, but I'd like to use my curve rule to actually do this. Alright. So at this top point, I'm going to go up by half an inch, and then I'm going to come down by 1 inch. This is to actually ensure that the dart is firm at the armhole point. So I'm going to use my curve rule to also extend. Okay, I'm going to use my curve rule to actually connect this new point to the old line. So I'm going to do this like so. Just ensure that you're having a smooth connection. Okay. Right. So if I place my tape So if I place my ruler like this, you're actually going to notice that this lower part is short of some inches. Now to ensure that it's the same with this up part, I'm going to add 1 inch to it. So I'm just going to add 1 inch like this, and then connect it to the old line. You can actually use your straight rule to do this. Okay. So because we're altering this armhole at this point, we also need to make some adjustment here. We're also going to add 1 inch here to create a new armhole curve. Okay. So I'm just going to connect this new line to this part using my curve rule. You can actually do this using your free hand, but I'd like to use my curve rule to achieve this. Okay, so now we're going to impute our dot. Now moving to the underbust, I'm going to measure 2 inches to the right. I usually like to take my dots, all of them, to the right. So at this underbust, I'm going to measure 2 inches to the right. This 2 inches is actually a constant if you have a bust of 35 inches and above. But if you have a smaller bust of below 35 inches, you may want to do 1.5 inches. So I'm just going to measure that 2 inches to the right at the underbust point. I'm also going to take that same measurement at the waistline and then connect the 2 points through up to the allowance line. Okay, so I'm going to connect these 2 points and extend it to the allowance line like this. Next, I'm going to connect this line to the bust point using a curve. All right. Okay, so next we're going to impute our circumferences. Now at this bust point, I'm going to impute my burst quarter of my burst circumference. I'm working with a burst circumference of 38 inches, quarter of that, which is dividing it by 4, I will have 9.5 inches. So placing the tape at the center fold, I'm going to measure the 9.5 inches. So mark that here. Now I'm working with an allowance of 2 inches. I'm also going to impute that. Okay, so at this underbust point, I'm going to impute quarter of my underbust circumference. So I'm working with an underbust circumference of about 31 inches. If I divide that by 4, I'm going to have 7.75 inches. So still placing the tape on the center fold, I'm going to measure that 7.75 inches. Alright, so at this underbust, we actually imputed a dot of 2 inches. So we're going to replace that. So mark the 2 inches and then the 2 inches same allowance. Okay, so at the waistline, we're going to impute quarter of the waist circumference. I'm working with a waist circumference of 31 inches, so if I divide that by 4, I'm going to have 7.75 inches. So still placing the tape at the center fold, I'm going to take that measurement. So I impute 7.75. Then if you also notice here, you can see that we have a dot of 2 inches at this point. We're going to replace that dot, a 2 inches dot, and then 2 inches seam allowance. Alright, so next we're going to connect all the marks together. Sometimes you realize that you are not able to connect all the three, points together. So in that case, you want to take the waist measurement and the bust line or bust point measurement. So that is the case in this draft. So I'm just going to take the waistline measurement and the bust point measurement. I'm just going to connect the two like so. Alright. Now I'm going to mark the points that we don't need so as not to create any confusion. So I'm just going to mark that, cutting out. Then at the shoulder point, I'm going to impute seam allowance at that point. I'm working with 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to mark that. So I'll just mark at this point and mark at this point as well. And connect them together. This is actually to allow me to join the shoulder together when sewing. Alright, with that, we're actually done with the front draft. Now we're going to cut out. Please watch me closely as I am cutting out. Alright, so this is it. This is the front part of the princess dart. So this is what it looks like. Then in the fold, this is what it looks like.